I want to ask you about how you cast Christopher and how you cast Peter. When you were thinking about who's going to play this fictionalized version of your father, what were the things that were important in terms of performance, in terms of personality, that you wanted to see in this character?
I just wanted to see, my father does not look good on paper, right? He's just in and out of prison. He's gotten into a lot of trouble, doesn't pay taxes, in and out of his kids' lives, and he's been married 6 times. So he doesn't look great on paper, but when you meet him, if any of you had met him, he'd sit down with you, drink some tequila, tell you the story about how he, used to go into casinos. He invented this solution that you would mark cards with. You'd put it on your fingertips and you'd mark cards with a solution. And he was wearing special eye contact lenses that could see that solution on the cards.
So he knew when an ace was coming up or something like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was great with cards. And so
Great asset.
my entire college education was paid for in big envelopes of cash that he would just send. So I think if you saw him and you met him, you'd really fall in love with him. And like so many people did, so many wives did. Christopher Plummer couldn't be further from my father. My father is covered in tattoos and, in and out of prison from El Paso, Texas. Drove a pickup truck most of his life. And so when Christopher Plummer's name was first mentioned, I kind of looked at my casting directors like, really? Okay, let me think about that. That's a polite thing you say, right? Let me think about it. And then I watched some interviews with Christopher Plummer, and I thought, my God, is this guy charming? Wow, he is so charismatic. I mean, I knew he was just a stellar, stellar actor, but when I saw those interviews, I just knew. Yeah, they had that same sparkle, that same twinkle in their eye.
Peter, you've worked with Christopher before. Tell us about working with him now and your first meeting with him.
Well, actually, that was the first time I'd worked with Christopher in Boundaries, but I've known him since I was 18, and I was able to use that in that initial greeting when I'm hugging him and throughout, because I just use it, had fun with it, and he is charming. He is terrific. And for me, when I read the script, I knew Christopher was involved. And I loved the script because it was very funny. And in this particular road trip, I'm not the traveler, I'm the campfire.
Tables have turned.
And being there at the campfire for Christopher to come, and I've said this, and Shana's heard me say this, I consider Christopher to be the finest Shakespearean actor in the Americas. So given that, the finest Shakespearean actor in the Americas is selling pot to Easy Rider. This is terrific. Absolutely. I wanted to get part of that. And it was fun. We had a good time. It was a tough shoot. We had a lot of stuff to do. Shana was shooting basically a television shoot.
In terms of schedule, was that just a necessary?
Pages per day.
In terms of how many days you had to shoot and how many pages you had to get through, what was your schedule?
Yeah, I did not cut this script down, which I should have. I was way too precious. So we were shooting 10 pages a day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What do you give them as a director to let them act? I mean, how married are you to the words you've written, and how much will you let them bring what it is they can do to?
Well, Peter's awesome at improv. He's so much fun. If Peter unleashed, I'd have a 4-hour movie because he has a lot of gold that he gives in the improv stage. That's really hilarious. But there's a part of me that when I was directing Peter Fonda and Christopher Plummer, saying it out loud just feels so unnatural. I was terrified. What can I add to their performance? Like it almost felt rude to direct them. Like a salute. Any kind of suggestion would be like, what? And
do it better.
Yeah,
it's not working.
Yeah. So I had to get rid of that, and I think you made that really easy on me. And of course, Christopher was too. But I still, even when we were in Chicago, there were times where I was like, whose life is this that I get to work with you? Wow. I just felt it's just a really cool thing. I'm so honored.
I'm just an actor, Yeah. That's how you got to look at it.
I know, but I listened to your stories. He has such amazing stories, and what an incredible body of work. I mean, that's why everybody's here, so thank you.
No, I have to thank you. Shana was very good in her direction, and her crew, she had a really good company, which is always a pleasure to shoot with a good company. And when we were doing the last scene, where the two hit men come in,
Hit boys.
hit boys, well, you know. And Shana just said, okay, now just take it wherever you want to. And actors like to hear that from time to time, especially if we're comfortable in our roles. And for me, the payoff was Christopher and I are up against the glass wall, and the guys are saying, where's the weed? Where's the money? Where's the weed? And I didn't know. I thought, well, how the fuck would I know? I'm stunned out of my head. And Vera behind me started laughing off camera. And the camera crew would laugh too. So it was very, it was intense work, but it was also fun.
Shana, when you're thinking about the kinds of people you want to have as department heads, what were the important factors to you? What kind of family did you try to create around this production?
Well, I really wanted to work with as many women as possible, which was actually surprisingly difficult. It was really important to me that I got to work with Sarah. But as far as my sets go, I don't think you have to have the worst experience to make a good movie. I know people tell you that. Well, you're having a horrible experience on film, and people are like, "This is going to be a good movie," because everybody's miserable and wants to kill each other and yelling at each other. I don't think that has to be true. Haven't you heard that?
No.
Oh, maybe.
I've been at it for a while too.
Yeah, you're right. But I just like collaborators. I think this film really gave me a chance to be selfish with who I chose to work with. I got to work with all of my first choices as far as cast, and that only made me look like a better director. And as far as my crew and my heads of department, I think I'm an actor's director. That's where I have the most fun. So it's really important for me to trust completely everybody that I'm working with. And in this case, they did make me look a lot smarter.
Your father did not live to see this film. In your mind, if there was something that he could have taken away from it, what would that thing or those things have been to know that you had succeeded in telling the story that you wanted to tell?
Sorry, guys. God, sorry. I hope that my love for him is on the screen. I think his portrait that I captured really, he's a guy with a handlebar mustache, if you didn't catch that. But I think that captured his spirit and his humanity. And I'd love for him to take away. I'd love for him to know that people will hopefully rescue animals after they see this film, maybe. But forgiveness, and that's huge to me. That my heart is just full of love for him, and I have totally forgiven him.
Thank you so much for saying that. Shana and Peter, thank you.